This is not self-help. This is healing. Body, nervous system, wholeness. Energy medicine, Ayurveda-inspired living, herbal wisdom. Learn, heal, and be together. Wholeness isn't fixing, it's integrating. Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. Understanding begins here. Healing happens here. Wholeness lives within you. Hello, everybody. Good day to everyone. This is Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio and our Healing Circle. And I have a special announcement for my Patreon members. You now get the Healing Circle early. You get it the morning before it airs at nighttime. So let's get right into this. We are in month 2, week 4. Do you believe it? And remember, we are focusing on the E in become emotions. Today's healing circle is about emotions as signals. What your feelings may be trying to tell you. So remember, emotion as signals. What we want to focus on today is understanding emotions as guidance rather than problems. Once again, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Today we begin week 4 of month 2 in the Become framework, where we have been focusing on the E in emotions. Over the past weeks, we've explored several important pieces of emotional life. We talked about emotional capacity, the ability to experience emotion without becoming overwhelmed by it. We talked about nervous system memory, how past experiences shape present emotional reactions. We talked about emotional triggers and how the body can react to situations that remind us of something older. We talked about emotional resilience, the ability to move through waves without losing ourselves. And we talked about emotional identity, the question of who we are becoming emotionally over time. This week, my friends, we take the next step because emotional awareness does something very important. It begins to influence the decisions we make, the boundaries we set, the opportunities we pursue, the environments we stay in, and sometimes the direction our lives take. So today we begin with something very simple. What if emotions are signals, not enemies, not inconveniences, not something to suppress, but signals that may contain important information about our lives? Many of us were not taught how to understand emotions. We were taught how to control them, or ignore them, or push through them, or dismiss them, or feel embarrassed by them. So when emotions appear, we often assume something has gone wrong. But emotions are part of how human beings process life. They respond to experience, they respond to environment, they respond to stress. They respond to meaning. They respond to loss, hope. They respond to possibility. In other words, emotions are not random, my friends. They are responses to something. Sometimes that something is clear. Sometimes it's hidden. But when we begin paying attention to emotions with curiosity instead of judgment, we begin to notice patterns. And those patterns often tell us something important. They may tell us something in our life is draining us. Something in our life is misaligned. Something in our life is being ignored. Or they might tell us something in our life is changing. They might be telling us something in our life is asking for courage or inviting us to growth. Healing does not mean obeying every emotion. Healing means learning to understand emotion without being controlled by it. And when that happens, my friends, emotion can shift from chaos to guidance. As always, our learning points. Learning point number 1. Repeated emotions are often repeated signals or repeated messages. When a certain emotional experience shows up repeatedly, it is often trying to reveal something. If someone experiences occasional frustration, that is normal. But if frustration shows up every day in the same situation, that may be a signal that something deeper needs attention. If someone feels exhausted after a busy week, that makes sense. But if exhaustion is constant, the body may be signaling that the pace of life is unsustainable. If resentment keeps appearing in the same relationship, the emotion may be pointing toward a boundary that has been crossed repeatedly. Repeated emotions are often invitations to ask, what keeps happening here? What is my system trying to tell me? And what has not been addressed yet? Ignoring repeated emotional signals does not make them disappear. Often it simply makes them louder over time. Learning point number 2. Emotions often reveal misalignment. This is so important, my friends. Misalignment happens when the way we are living no longer matches what we truly need. Sometimes people stay in environments that once made sense, but no longer fit who they have become. Sometimes we stay in roles we are constantly overextending ourselves. Sometimes we carry responsibilities that belong to others. Sometimes we continue patterns that once helped us survive, but now keep us stuck. Emotions often notice misalignment before the mind does. The mind may explain things away, but the body may still feel heavy, tight, drained, resentful, or restless. Those emotions may be signals that something in life needs adjustment, not necessarily a dramatic change, but perhaps a more honest look. Learning point number 3, not every uncomfortable emotion means something is wrong. Sometimes, my friends, emotions signal misalignment, but sometimes they signal growth. Fear can appear when we try something new. Uncertainty can appear when we step into unfamiliar territory. Self-doubt can appear when we are expanding beyond what used to feel safe. Growth can be uncomfortable, but discomfort and danger are not the same thing. Part of emotional maturity is learning the difference between an emotion that warns us to stay away and an emotion that appears when we are stepping forward. That distinction takes time and self-awareness. Learning point number 4, emotional awareness creates clarity. When emotions are ignored, life can feel confusing. We may feel constantly overwhelmed without understanding why. We may feel stuck without knowing what is wrong. We may feel dissatisfied but unable to explain it. Emotional awareness helps us slow down long enough to ask better questions. What am I feeling? When does this feeling appear? What situations bring it up? What does my body do when this happens? Over time, these questions begin revealing patterns, and patterns create clarity. Clarity creates options, and options create change. Learning point number 5, healing transforms emotion into guidance. When we are overwhelmed emotionally, emotions often control our behavior. We react quickly, we say things we regret, we shut down, we avoid, we escape. But when healing increases emotional steadiness, something important happens. We can feel emotion without being driven by it. That pause creates space. And inside that space, we can ask, what is the wiser response here? What does this feeling reveal? What would a healthier decision look like? Emotion then becomes information rather than chaos. That shift changes how we live. Let's talk about a real human example here. Imagine someone who constantly feels drained after spending time with certain people. At first, they assume they are simply tired, but the pattern repeats again and again. Eventually, they realize that the dynamic in those relationships requires them to constantly overfunction, explain themselves, or manage other people's emotions. The exhaustion is not random, it is information. Once that person recognizes the pattern, they can begin making different decisions, perhaps smaller boundaries, perhaps shorter interactions, perhaps different expectations. Emotion helped reveal the pattern. Awareness made change possible. Now, let's talk about this through a power of three lens. In energy medicine, emotion is energy moving through the body. When emotions are suppressed for long periods of time, the body often carries the tension. This tension can build, energy gets stuck, and then we lead to physical, emotional, or spiritual illness. Awareness allows energy to move instead of stagnate. In Ayurveda inspired living, emotional balance is connected to lifestyle rhythm, rest, nourishment, and environment. When life becomes overstimulating or imbalanced, emotions often reflect that strain. In herbal wisdom, plants have long been used to support emotional steadiness and nervous system regulation, helping people respond more calmly to life's experience. Now, as always, our five reflection journal questions. If you have not started journaling, spend one day each week for 5 or 10 minutes to start. You might reflect on these questions today or sometime this week. Number one, what emotion has been showing up repeatedly in my life recently? Number two, what situation or environment seems to trigger that emotion? Number three, what might that feeling be asking me to notice? Number four, what might greater honesty with myself be helpful right now? Excuse me. Where might greater honesty with myself be helpful right now? And number four, what emotion might I have been dismissing that deserves gentle attention? You do not need to solve anything or solve everything. Just noticing is powerful. Healing, my friends, does not mean eliminating emotions. Healing means becoming more able to understand them. And sometimes the emotions we once tried to silence become the very signals that help guide us toward a healthier life. Our quote of today is, emotion is not weakness. It is often the body's first language of truth. Today, we begin week 4 of month 2 in Become, and I am happy you decided to spend this time with me. If you are watching this and on my YouTube channel, you can get this first each day, each morning in Patreon. There's early access, there's support for you, there's healing sessions, meditations, daily anchors, and so much more to help guide you and support you on your journey. We are a community of people who are growing and developing ourselves, our awareness, in our own healing, health, and wellness. The link to our Patreon is in the description and in the first comment. It is only $7.99 a month. It'll be the best $7.99 you've ever spent. Join us there. Have a great day ahead, everybody. Peace, love, and light always. I love you all. I'll see you in the circle. And remember, healing lives here. Wholeness lives within you. This is not self-help. This is healing. Body, nervous system, wholeness. Energy medicine, Ayurveda inspired living, herbal wisdom. Learn, heal, and be together. Wholeness isn't fixing, it's integrating. Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. Understanding begins here. Healing happens here. Wholeness lives within you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio, and this is our Healing Circle. It is Tuesday, March 10th, and this is month 2, week 4, and in our framework, we are in the E in Become for Emotions. So once again, welcome everyone. I'm glad you're here today. Yesterday, we began week 4 by talking about emotions as signals. We explored the idea that emotions are not simply interruptions or inconveniences, but information about our lives. Today, we make the next step because when emotional awareness grows, something very practical begins to change: our decisions. And that is what we're going to talk about tonight. The decisions we make about where we invest our time, what we tolerate, how we spend our energy, what opportunities we pursue, and sometimes what direction we allow our lives to move in. Many people assume life changes through huge moments, but most life transformation actually happens through many small, wiser decisions made over time. And emotional awareness is often the beginning of that shift. When we are disconnected from our emotional life, decisions often come from habit, from pressure, from fear, from expectation, from survival patterns. But when emotional awareness increases, we begin to notice things sooner. We notice exhaustion sooner. We notice resentment sooner. We notice excitement sooner. We notice curiosity sooner. We also notice discomfort sooner. Those signals help us pause long enough to ask, is this the right direction? Is this actually aligned with what I need? Is this sustainable? Is this something I want to continue? That pause may seem small, but it is powerful, my friends, because the quality of our decisions eventually shapes the quality of our lives. As always, our learning points. Let's get into this. Learning point number 1. Emotional awareness reduces impulsive decision making. Let me say that again. Emotional awareness reduces impulsive decision making. When emotions overwhelm us, we often react quickly. We may say yes immediately. We may shut down immediately. We may avoid difficult conversations. We may make choices based on temporary relief rather than long-term well-being. But emotional awareness creates a pause. And inside that pause, we can consider our response. We can ask, what am I actually feeling? What is happening in my body? What does this situation really require? That pause gives wisdom room to enter the conversation. Learning point number 2. Emotional clarity strengthens boundaries. Many people struggle with boundaries, not because they are weak, but because they are disconnected from their emotional signals. Resentment is often a boundary signal. Overwhelm is often a capacity signal. Exhaustion is often a pacing signal. When we ignore these emotions, we continue saying yes long after our limits have been reached. But when we begin recognizing emotional signals earlier, we can respond sooner. We may say, I'm not able to take that on right now. I need to slow the pace. I need more support here. Boundaries are often simply the result of emotional honesty. Learning point number 3. Emotional awareness reduces self-abandonment. I'm going to say that one again. Emotional awareness reduces self-abandonment. Many decisions are made to please others or avoid discomfort. We all fall into this trap at times. We may continue commitments we no longer have energy for. We may silence our own needs to keep the peace. We may delay necessary changes because they feel uncertain. But emotional awareness helps us recognize when we are abandoning ourselves. When we begin honoring what we feel, we gradually stop sacrificing our well-being for the comfort of others. That shift builds self-trust. Learning point number 4. Small decisions accumulate into life direction. Most life transformations, my friends, do not happen overnight. They happen through repeated, small choices. Choosing rest instead of consistent overexertion. Choosing honesty instead of silent resentment. Choosing growth instead of staying stuck. Choosing opportunity instead of fear. Over time, these small decisions accumulate, and eventually, the entire direction of life begins to change. Learning point number 5. Emotional maturity increases life stewardship. As emotional awareness grows, we begin stewarding our lives differently. We take better care of our health. We protect our time. We invest energy in what matters. We become more thoughtful about where we give ourselves, we become more thoughtful about where we give ourselves. This is not selfishness. It is responsibility for the life we are building. Let's think about this example. Someone who has always said yes to everything may begin noticing the emotional signals sooner. They notice the tight chest, the heavy feeling, the exhaustion that follows overcommitment. Instead of pushing through again, they say, I am not able to do that right now. It may feel uncomfortable the first few times, but over time, that single shift protects their energy, health, and peace. Now, as always, my friends, are 5 reflection journaling questions. And if you have not started journaling yet, at least journal 1 day a week for 5 or 10 minutes. And think about this as you journal. As you journal about this or reflect upon these questions, what decision in my life might look different if I listened more honestly to my emotions? Journaling will help you to do that. Number 1, what recent decision in my life was influenced by how I felt emotionally at the time? Number 2, are there areas where I tend to ignore my emotional signals when making choices? Number 3, where in my life might a small, wiser decision make a meaningful difference right now? Number 4, what boundaries might become clearer if I listened more honestly to what I feel? And number 5, what decision in my life might become clearer if I trusted what I am feeling instead of pushing past it? My friends, that completes our healing circle for today. If any of this resonates with you or you want to go deeper, I invite you to Evolve Global 22's Healing Circle on Patreon. It is only $7.99 a month. You get weekly master classes. You get these healing circles on an early release. You get a morning anchor every morning, weekday of the week, Monday through Friday. We do monthly healing sessions, meditations, all sorts of things. So the support is here for you, and it is affordable because I don't want to leave anybody out. So the link is in the description and in the first comment. Now remember, healing lives here, wholeness lives within you, and I will see you in the circle. This is not self-help. This is healing. Body, nervous system, wholeness. Energy medicine, Ayurveda-inspired living, herbal wisdom. Learn, heal, and be together. Wholeness isn't fixing, it's integrating. Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. Understanding begins here. Healing happens here. Wholeness lives within you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. This is our healing circle. It is Wednesday, March 11th, and let's get right into this. Again, welcome. I'm so pleased and grateful that you are here. I am happy that you are taking this time to spend with me for your benefit. This week we've been exploring so many things, but specifically we've been exploring how emotional awareness can begin changing the direction of our lives. On Monday, we talked about emotions as signals, how feelings often carry information about what's happening inside our lives. Yesterday, we talked about how emotional awareness begins to influence sorry, guys, it's been a long day and a long week, even though it's still young. So yesterday, we talked about how emotional awareness begins to influence the decisions we make, sometimes in small ways that gradually change the course of our lives. Today, we move into something even deeper. Today, we talk about patterns, because sometimes the challenge in our lives is not just one emotion. It is a repeating emotional pattern that quietly shapes our experiences again and again. We may see the same reactions appear in relationships, work environments, stressful situations, moments of opportunity, and moments of conflict, not because we are incapable, not because we are weak, but because emotional patterns are powerful. Many of them formed long before we were even aware of them. And until those patterns are noticed, they often continue guiding our reactions without us realizing it. Healing gives us the chance to see these patterns clearly. And once we see them, we have the possibility of responding differently. Human beings are pattern-forming creatures. Our brains and nervous systems learn from experience. If something in our early life required us to respond in a certain way to survive emotionally, that response becomes a habit. For example, someone who learned that conflict leads to rejection may learn to avoid confrontation completely. Someone who learned that love must be earned may become an overgiver. Someone who learned that mistakes lead to criticism may become highly self-critical. Someone who experienced instability may become extremely cautious about risk. These responses once served a purpose. They helped navigate difficult situations, but over time, those patterns can continue even when they are no longer necessary. And that is when people begin to notice something confusing. They may find themselves in similar situations again and again, the same kind of relationships, the same emotional reactions, the same frustrations, the same limitations, not because life is punishing them, but because an emotional pattern is still operating in the background. Healing helps bring those patterns into awareness, and awareness is powerful because once something is visible, we are no longer operating blindly. We can begin choosing a different response. Now, as always, my friends, let's get into this a little bit more through our learning points. Learning point number 1. Emotional patterns often begin as survival strategies. Many emotional patterns formed at a time when we had limited power or limited options. Children learn quickly what responses keep them safe emotionally. They may learn to stay quiet. They may learn to please others. They may learn to avoid risk. They may learn to carry responsibility early. These patterns were often intelligent responses to the environment at the time, but survival strategies can become limiting patterns later in life. Recognizing this allows us to approach our patterns with compassion instead of shame. Learning point number 2, patterns repeat until they are understood. Many people notice similar experiences repeating in their lives. The same arguments, the same emotional triggers, the same frustrations in work or relationships. This repetition is not punishment. It is often an invitation for awareness. Life keeps presenting similar situations because the emotional pattern has not yet been examined. Once the pattern becomes visible, the repetition can begin to shift. Learning point number 3, emotional awareness interrupts automatic reactions. I want to say that one again. Emotional awareness interrupts automatic reactions. Without awareness, emotional responses happen automatically. Something triggers us, we read it immediately, but when we begin noticing patterns, something important changes. We gain a moment of pause. That pause gives us the opportunity to ask, what is happening here? What does this situation affect? Why does this situation affect me so strongly? Is my response coming from the present moment or from an older emotional pattern? This pause, my friends, is where change begins. Learning point number 4, new responses create new outcomes. Patterns do not change because we force ourselves to be different. They change when we begin responding differently in key moments. A person who usually avoids conflict might practice expressing a small boundary. Someone who usually overcommits might practice saying no once. Someone who usually retreats from opportunity might choose to try something new. Small changes in response can slowly create very different life outcomes. Healing point number 5. Healing allows patterns to soften and evolve. Healing is not about eliminating every emotional reaction. It is about becoming more conscious of how we respond to life. Over time, awareness softens patterns. We may notice we react less quickly, we recover more quickly, we pause before responding, or we choose differently. Those small shifts gradually change the trajectory of our lives. Imagine someone who begins a new project or opportunity with enthusiasm, but every time the project begins to gain visibility, they pull back, they delay, they second guess themselves, they lose momentum. At first, it may look like inconsistency, but if they look more closely, they may discover a pattern. Perhaps earlier experiences taught them that being visible leads to criticism or pressure. Their nervous system learned to retreat when visibility increases. Once they recognize this pattern, they can respond differently. Instead of withdrawing, they may choose to take one small step forward. That small shift begins changing the pattern. Let's look at this through the power of three lens. In energy medicine, emotional patterns can become energetic patterns in the body. Awareness allows energy to move instead of remaining locked into familiar responses. This is not self-help. This is healing. Body, nervous system, wholeness. Energy medicine, Ayurveda-inspired living, herbal wisdom. Learn, heal, and be together. Wholeness isn't fixing, it's integrating. Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. Understanding begins here. Healing happens here. Wholeness lives within you. Hello, everybody. This is Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio in our healing circle. It is Thursday, March 12th. It is amazing how quick March is going. Welcome, welcome. I'm glad you're here. This week, we've been exploring something very important about emotions and healing. On Monday, we talked about emotions as signals, how what we feel often contains information about what is happening in our lives. On Tuesday, we talked about how emotional awareness begins to influence the decisions we make, sometimes in small ways that gradually change our direction. And yesterday, my friends, we talked about emotional patterns and how many of our reactions were formed earlier in life and can repeat quietly until we begin noticing them. Today, I want to move into something that many people don't expect when they begin a healing journey. Sometimes healing begins because something hurts. We are exhausted, our health is struggling, our emotions feel overwhelming, life feels heavy. So we start healing because we want relief. We want the pain to stop. We want to feel better. But something interesting often happens along the way. Healing doesn't just reduce pain, it can begin to change the life we build. It can change what we believe is possible, what we are willing to pursue, what we feel called to create, and what we believe we deserve. And sometimes healing opens doors to opportunities we could not have imagined earlier. Today, I want to share a personal example of that journey. See, I always have journaling on my mind. There was a time in my life when I weighed 300 pounds. At that time, my goal was very, very simple. I just wanted to lose weight. That was it. It wasn't trying to build a wellness platform. I wasn't trying to create a healing framework. I wasn't thinking about business or teaching in the way I do now. I simply wanted my health back. But as I began working on my health, something deeper started unfolding. What began as weight loss slowly became healing. I started paying attention not just to my body, but to my lifestyle, my habits, my emotional patterns, and what truly nourished my system. I began studying Ayurveda medicine, plant medicine, and energy medicine. I learned various types of lifestyle practices that support the body and the nervous system. And over time, something beautiful began to form along my journey. That's where Evolve Global 22 was born. And eventually, the Power of Three framework emerged: energy medicine, Ayurveda inspired living, and herbal wisdom. That framework didn't come from theory alone. It came from my lived experience. It came from learning what actually supports healing in real life. Over time, my body changed. 300 pounds became less, then less, then less again. Eventually, I reached 165 pounds. I found myself in the best shape and health of my life. But the most powerful transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional, it was mental, it was in my soul. My mindset began to shift. I began believing something that many people stopped believing as adults: that life can change, that healing is possible, that growth is possible, that new chapters are possible. My work in healing and wellness continued to grow slowly over time. It wasn't an overnight success story. It was built gradually, helping people, teaching, learning, building, staying committed to the journey. Then something unexpected happened. A new opportunity came into my life. Through Agara Life, what caught my attention wasn't just the business side, it was the alignment, plant-based wellness, metabolic support, energy, and focus, the lifestyle support. These were things I had already been studying and living, and suddenly something expanded. The business began to grow quickly and continues to grow. And that opportunity has allowed me to continue my early exit from a long career in K-12 education, moving into retirement with financial stability and the possibility of continued growth toward true financial independence and freedom. Now I continue helping people build lives rooted in healing, health, wellness, and financial freedom. I share this story for one reason, not because everyone should follow the same path, but because healing often opens doors we never imagined. It begins with one step, one decision, one change. And over time, that healing journey can lead to a completely different life than the one we originally expected. Healing changes something very important inside a person. It changes what they believe is possible. When someone is struggling physically, emotionally, or mentally, their world can feel very, very small. They are focused on surviving the day, managing the pain, getting through the week. But as healing begins, something opens, energy returns, clarity returns, curiosity returns. And with that space, new questions begin to appear. Questions like, what do I want to build now? What matters to me now? How do I want to use what I've learned? What might my life, excuse me, where might my life be expanding? Sometimes, my friends, healing is not just about relief. Sometimes healing is about preparation. Preparation for the life that is more aligned, more meaningful, more courageous, and sometimes more abundant than we once imagined. Now, as always, our learning points for tonight. Number one, healing often begins with one visible problem. Many healing journeys begin with a clear challenge: weight gain, burnout, stress, health struggles, emotional overwhelm. But those visible challenges are often only the doorway. They invite us to look deeper at our habits, our environment, our emotional patterns, and the ways we care for ourselves. What begins as a single problem can become a much larger healing journey. Learning point number 2, healing expands possibility. When someone begins to feel better physically and emotionally, their sense of possibility begins to grow. They begin imagining different futures, different work, different goals, different relationships, different ways of living. Healing restores hope. Learning point number 3, purpose often grows out of lived experience. Many people eventually realize that what they have learned through their struggles can help someone else. Pain can become wisdom. Experience can become compassion. Growth can become a contribution. Often, the very thing that once challenged us becomes the thing that helps us guide others. Learning point number 4, slow growth is still real growth. I'm going to say that one again. Slow growth is still real growth. Many meaningful lives are not built quickly. They are built slowly, through persistence, through patience, through continued learning, through steady effort. Growth does not have to be fast to be meaningful. Consistency over time builds strong foundations. Learning point number 5, healing prepares us to recognize opportunity. I'm going to say that one again too. Healing prepares us to recognize opportunity. Sometimes opportunities appear that would not have made sense earlier in our lives. But because we have grown, healed, and developed greater clarity, we are ready to recognize them. Healing prepares us for the next chapter. Now let's consider this through our power of 3 lens. In energy medicine, healing shifts energy patterns in the body, creating greater movement, vitality, and openness to change. In Ayurveda-inspired living, balanced rhythms, nourishment, and lifestyle practices restore clarity and resilience. And then in herbal wisdom, plants have supported human healing for centuries, helping restore strength, balance, and long-term wellness. As always, my friends, our 5 reflection journal questions. If you have not started journaling, please do yourself a big favor and start journaling at least once a week for 5 or 10 minutes. Reflection question number 1. What challenge in my life may actually be inviting deeper healing? Number 2, how has healing already changed the way I see my life or my future? Number 3, what strengths have I gained through the difficulties I have faced? Number 4, is there something meaningful I feel drawn to build, share, or contribute because of what I've learned? And number 5, what possibility might be opening in my life that I may not have fully recognized yet? My friends, healing does not only change how we feel, it can change how we live. It can change what we believe. It can change what we are willing to build. And sometimes the life we are meant to live begins the moment we decide to heal. If today's conversation resonated with you and you're looking for a steadier place to continue this work, I want to gently invite you into our Healing Circle community on Patreon. The Healing Circle is a supportive space for women navigating real life, emotional healing, life transitions, stress, relationships, health challenges, and personal growth overall. The live streams here are the open circle. Inside Patreon, we go deeper. Members receive early access to these Healing Circle teachings, a weekly masterclass exploring the themes in greater depth, morning anchors to begin the day with reflection and steadiness, guided healing sessions, and supportive practices, reflection prompts and learning resources, ongoing support through the Healing Circle community, and specifically from me. This space is designed to be gentle, thoughtful, and real. There is no pressure to share more than you want to. Some members participate actively, others simply listen and reflect quietly. Both are welcome here. If you are looking for a place where healing is approached with compassion, wisdom, and real life understanding, the Healing Circle on Patreon may be a meaningful place for you. You can learn more and join us through the Patreon link here and then in the first comment. Remember, my friends, healing lives here. Wholeness lives within you. And on that note, peace, love, and light. I love you all. Take care, and I will see you in the circle. This is not self-help. This is healing. Body, nervous system, wholeness. Energy medicine, Ayurveda-inspired living, herbal wisdom. Learn, heal, and be together. Wholeness isn't fixing, it's integrating. Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. Understanding begins here. Healing happens here. Wholeness lives within you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday's Healing Circle. This is Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio and our Healing Circle. It is Friday, the end of week 4, which completes the end of our second month. Welcome, everyone, again. I'm glad you're here today. Today, we come to the end of week 4 of month 2, where we've been focusing on the E, emotions, and the Become framework. This week, we explored several important ideas together. On Monday, we talked about emotions as signals, how our feelings often carry important information about what is happening beneath the surface of our lives. On Tuesday, we talked about how emotional awareness begins to influence the decisions we make, often in small ways that gradually change our direction. On Wednesday, we explored emotional patterns and how many of our reactions were formed earlier in life and can repeat until we begin noticing them. Yesterday, we talked about how healing can sometimes open unexpected possibilities, changing not only how we feel, but what we believe is possible for our lives. Today, my friends, we slow down and ask a quieter question, a question many people don't ask themselves often enough. Who am I becoming through this healing? Not who I was 5 years ago, not who I had to be in order to survive certain seasons, not who others expected me to be, but who I am gradually becoming now, because healing changes us, sometimes in ways that are so gradual we don't notice right away. Many people expect healing to look dramatic, and I know you've heard that from me many times. They expect sudden breakthroughs, immediate change, perfect emotional control. But most real healing happens quietly. It happens in small shifts. You may notice that you pause before reacting now. You may notice that you recover more quickly after a difficult moment. You may notice that certain situations no longer trigger the same intensity. You may notice that you trust yourself more. You may notice that your boundaries are clearer. You may be able to tolerate situations that you couldn't tolerate before. These shifts may not look dramatic from the outside, but they are deeply, deeply meaningful. Healing gradually reshapes identity. You begin responding to life from a different place, not perfection, but awareness, not force, but growth. And sometimes the most powerful realization is this: you are no longer the same person you once were. Now let's get right into our learning points. Learning point number 1: healing changes how we respond to life. Life itself may still bring similar circumstances. Challenges still appear. Stressful moments still happen. But your response begins to shift. Where you once reacted quickly, you may now pause. Where you once felt overwhelmed, you may now breathe. When you once shut down, you may now stay present. These changes are signs of emotional growth. Healing point number 2: healing increases self-trust. As emotional awareness grows, many people begin trusting themselves more. They trust their instincts, they trust their boundaries, they trust their ability to navigate difficult situations. Self-trust develops slowly, but it becomes one of the most powerful outcomes of healing. Learning point number 3: healing changes what we tolerate. One of the quiet transformations of healing is that certain environments, behaviors, or patterns no longer feel acceptable. You may notice yourself stepping away from things that once felt normal, not because you are rejecting others, but because you are honoring your well-being. Learning point number 4: healing strengthens resilience. Healing does not eliminate difficulty. Life will still bring challenges, but resilience grows. You recover more quickly. You move through emotional waves with greater steadiness. You begin to understand that difficult moments do not define your entire life. Learning point number 5: healing reveals the person you were always becoming. Many people think healing means becoming someone completely different, but often healing is about uncovering the person you were always meant to be, a person who is more grounded, more present, more honest, more aligned, more alive. Healing allows that person to emerge. Someone who once felt constantly overwhelmed may begin to notice a change, for example. Where they once panicked, they now pause. Where they once pushed themselves endlessly, they now recognize when rest is needed. Where they once felt powerless, they now realize they have choices. The circumstances of life may still continue and contain challenges, but the person experiencing those circumstances has changed, and that changes everything. Now let's look at this through a power of 3 lens. In energy medicine, healing shifts the energetic patterns of the body, creating greater steadiness and flow. This is why, my friends, energy medicine and energy work and energy healing is so important. From an Ayurveda-inspired living perspective, balanced lifestyle rhythms help regulate emotions and support long-term resilience. This is why it's important for everyone to understand and know their Ayurvedic body type, their dominant one, and how to align their food choices, their lifestyle choices with that body type. And herbal wisdom, plant support has long helped restore balance in the body and nervous system, helping people move through stress with greater stability. This is why it is important to use herbs and nature's medicine every single day. It is a system of defense and support. Now for our 5 reflection and journaling questions. Number 1, in what ways have I changed emotionally over the past few years? Number 2, what emotional responses or habits have become healthier, or more balanced in me? Number 3, what challenges have helped shape the person I am becoming today? Number 4, what qualities in myself am I beginning to trust more than I used to? And number 5, in what ways can I see growth in myself and what I might not have acknowledged yet? Healing does not mean life becomes perfect, my friends, but it does mean we become more capable of living it, more capable of responding instead of reacting, more capable of choosing what aligns with our well-being, more capable of building a life that reflects who we truly are. And sometimes the most powerful realization is this: you are already becoming someone stronger, wiser, and more grounded than you once believed possible. If today's conversation resonated with you and you're looking for a steadier place to continue this work, I want to invite you into the Healing Circle community on Patreon. The Healing Circle is a supportive space for women navigating real life, emotional healing, stress, relationships, health challenges, life transitions, and personal growth. The live streams here are the open circle, but inside Patreon, we go deeper. Members receive early access to the Healing Circle teachings, a weekly masterclass exploring these ideas more deeply, morning anchors to begin the day with reflection, steadiness, and support, guided healing sessions and supported practices, reflective prompts and learning resources, and ongoing connection with the Healing Circle community. You get direct support also from me. This space is designed to be gentle, thoughtful, and real. There is no pressure to share more than you want to. Some members participate actively, others simply listen and reflect quietly. Both are welcome here. If this is the kind of support that you feel is meaningful to you, you're welcome to join us through the Patreon link. It's here in the description as well as in the first comment. Remember, healing lives here. Wholeness lives within you. Peace, love, and light. I love you all. I'll see you in the circle.